Right. I want to address the last couple of weeks that we've been waiting for Jackie Lambie to respond to our emails. And I know a lot of you sent those emails out. So I'd like to get to the point here and tell you all that Jackie Lambie went silent. Jackie Lambie didn't respond to any of us, didn't respond to any of you, didn't respond at all. Jackie Lambie actually went silent. Jackie Lambie told us that she could use her parliamentary privilege, and she was concerned about fraud on the other side of Parliament, and she wanted a better committee to look after these things. But when she was given information, she went silent. She hasn't responded to anybody. So in my eyes, Jackie Lambie, you're a failure. You're a failure to all the people in this country when you've been provided with evidence that you choose not to address. Now what's happened then, the Attorney General stood up next to you, didn't he? And we told you that in your failure, we would then contact the Attorney General. We've done that this morning. I actually spoke to the Attorney General, Christian Porter, on the phone in his office in Perth. He was rude. I mean disgustingly rude. This man thinks that he is separate from the rest of you by the mannerisms he dealt with me in that phone call. Christian Porter, you don't talk over the top of people and then accuse them of talking over the top of you. You asked me for a response and then kept talking. That's who you are. You've now been provided with over 600 pages worth of information relative to your position as the Attorney General of this country. And I'm now here for justice. That's my prerogative. You turned my want to question you into a threat. You used those words as if to say to me that I was threatening you. Do you want the honest truth? I made a promise to you that I'd follow this rule of law all the way to the core. I'm not going away. You damaged my life. You damaged my career. You damaged my bank account. You damaged all my savings. You did that. You, the Australian government, did that. You want to dig into my past? Go ahead. Because what I'm saying to you, Christian Porter, is you don't walk away from this one. Everybody's watching. You finally got the rule of law in your lap. Why? Because every single minister underneath you went silent, including the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister went and issued his cabinet with flag pins, going against the evidence which was given to him, showing his disloyalty to a federal red ensign and our Anzac. And now I've put that in your lap, Christian Porter. You are the man openly overseeing rule of law to the Australian government as advertised on the Australian government website. And I'd like you to define whether that rule of law actually goes to the lineage of our Anzac. I don't come here to argue law with you, Christian Porter. I come here to argue the laws that are higher than that. James 2:8, the royal law is found in the scripture, Christian Porter. Judges 2:12, you went whoring after other gods and you forgot our Anzac. That's who you became. That's who the Prime Minister became. I came for justice. I didn't come to lie. I didn't come to hide the lies either. I want you to understand this, Christian Porter. I make no threats against you in your private life. Who cares who you are? You chose a public life. You chose to enter Parliament. You chose to be elected. You chose to be the Attorney General. You did that through the long line of history you created to become a politician. You did that. We didn't force you into being in this office. You chose. Now we're asking you to prove. Does your office have a line of right to our Anzac? Are you using our constitution or a foreign one? Did you form a new entity in 1973 or not? What's the deal with the Statute of Westminster 1942 and the change to Clause 5 of our Constitution? You thought I came unknowledged? You're mistaken. I came for justice, and in doing that, I studied quite a lot. I discovered our flag, I discovered our coat of arms, and I discovered the rules of usufruct which you run under. So Christian Porter, it's in your lap now. And to everyone else, you need to fly that red ensign. You need to show this Christian Porter who you are. Because his rule of law is to the Australian government. And their Admiralty blue ensign, which is not to be flown on land according to your law. So pick up a federal red ensign, gather together, go to all your war memorials with your red ensign, go to all your sporting events with your red ensign. Put it on your car, put it on your house, get stickers, put them on your windows, send them to the politicians, give them a flag, give them stickers, make them aware. They're the ones that are running your life because you refuse to stand up for it. And we don't have to fight them for it because at the end of the day, they're administrators. And they have a whole host of laws locking them into that administration. That's the bottom line. What they've done to you is international slavery by putting you on the bonds market. It's international bondage. You became their slave financially. And the debt burden was put on your shoulders so they could live with silver spoons in their mouths. This is why they treat you with the utmost of contempt. This is why they ignore you. This is why they blanket reply to you and never respond specifically to your questions. This is why you can never talk to a minister in one of their offices, because they've got lackeys to stop you from doing that. They have complete contempt for all of you. It is completely demonstrated by their daily actions. Pick up a red ensign, a proper federal one, and fly it. Start telling these people you know who you are. Because if you let them dictate who you are, you lose everything you were. And that, under the international slavery at which they've enforced upon you using the citizenship, linked to the IMF, linked to the United Nations as a trust territory under the Citizenship Acts. You forgot all about your loyalty to the Crown. You forgot all about your loyalty to each other. And you took that citizenship so what can I say? Attorney General, it's pointed at you. People, if you can't voice yourselves, he's not going to hear. He's going to ignore us again and again and again, like he has for the last decade. Christian Porter's new to this. Right, the Governor-Generals have changed hands from Quinton Bryce to the new one today since I started doing this. Silence. Silence. It's going to end. Because the people need the answers. That's all. We're not going away. You chose silence. We didn't. We're not going away. You chose to hide behind all these laws. We didn't. You did. And your biggest mistake was putting it all on public record. All the citizenship, all the bondage, all the financial markets, all the debts. You chose to put that on the people's backs. You chose to make them slaves. You chose to put them into international bondage. And you chose to enforce that with guns. You created a war crime. You, the Australian government created a war crime by enforcing the slavery with the policy enforcers. You did that. So everybody, time to address the Attorney General, Christian Porter, and if he leaves office, let him go back to his private life and pick up on the next guy that sits in that office. And don't let go. They're the ones responsible for the rule of law to the Australian government, and they're the ones that are supposed to be responsible for the rule of law to you. Now we ask them very specifically, do they have a line of right to that rule of law or not? I pose that they don't. I pose that they haven't since 1973. I pose that they took it away from you in secret meetings and changed your oath of allegiance behind your back. I pose that they use a pledge of citizenship being a bond. I pose that a pledge at law is a promise to pay someone else's debts. I pose that the Pledge of Citizenship is not an oath of allegiance and is outside of the Constitution Act July 1900, and they've been doing this to you since 1948 because they installed the IMF in 1947. They transferred you out of your Commonwealth onto a slave ship, and that flies a blue Admiralty flag that is not a land war flag. It's got nothing to do with the land. It belongs to a foreign vessel who has you all in slavery. Attorney General, you got a lot to answer for, and I mean a lot.